Hi, welcome back to the Fosterpreneur podcast. It's episode 12, and I am sitting back on the virtual couch with the one and the only Remy. Remy, say hey to the good
Hey y'all,
people.
I'm happy to be here again.
And let me tell you, Remy, I'm so glad that you're back. And what is so special about this conversation, y'all, Remy is doing a two-parter for us. So this second part is a continuation of our conversation before because she has really big news. And one of the things that is really special to me is that Remy is allowing us to see like her full process. And she is giving us a special personal, up close and personal experience to talking about her latest product, her latest baby, all the things. So I could sit here and talk about it, but you don't want to hear that directly from me. So I want to turn it over to Remy so you can tell our audience what have you been up to?
Uh, well, plenty. Unfortunately, my days are packed. But today's conversation is really about a passion project, a project born from pain, a book, y'all. So I just published a book called
Round of
Intentionality.
applause. She's a published reader now.
So I published a book. It is entitled "And If Okay Never Comes," and it is a poetry book on grief and the journey of grief that I have been on for the last year. It'll be a year in April, actually.
What?
Yeah, I said the same thing.
What?
This, yeah, it'll be a year in April. hmm
Y'all, time is just going by way too fast for me. Okay, okay, continue
Time
though.
is always a weird concept because sometimes it feels like it's just forever, and then others just like it happens overnight. So, and it for me for this specific thing it does feel overnight. Like it's already been a year. But yeah, last year April, I lost my emotional support animal, my dog. He was perfect. He's truly saved my life. He was an elderly Bichon Frise that I rescued, and we got to have 6 incredible years together where it was really a coming into who I am today. And I owe him so much of just who I've become, the journey I've been on with my mental health, etc. And I got to just kind of create this art from that, right? So,
Thank you. Like, I have so many things that are going percolating through my mind right now. Um, and I just want to say, I feel like we are really fortunate to have a window to learn more about your experience and just even the fact that you've used poetry as a medium to express your grief. That's really powerful. So, one of the questions I want to ask you, Remy, is what made you think I need to write about this?
so I write anyway. So, I don't watch TV. Fun fact about me, y'all. That's how I managed to
I
get
didn't
everything
know
done.
that.
I don't. I have no Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, all of that. If I do anything, I might turn on like the regular TV channels and watch a little HGTV, get a little inspo for my house.
Ooh!
That's about it though. Outside of that, I truly do read and write. It is just what I've always done. And so writing about it just came second nature to me. Publishing it and bringing it to fruition the way I have is a completely different beast. But writing about it is just would have always been the answer for me as I was processing through those emotions and thoughts.
Okay. So, because you're already a writer, it sounds like some of this was a little bit innate to you. And what I want to do is, I want to take a deep dive and kind of walk through your whole writing experience, going from literally the thought of, I need to write a book about grief to publishing. So, can you walk us through like what your day to day looked like when it came down to writing this book? Was it a linear process? Was it chaotic? Like, did you have challenges getting things pen to paper? Like, walk us through that process for you.
Yeah, well, first I didn't live in my home for weeks after he passed. And so I was already in a very different environment. I went home with family, which was honestly the best decision I made. and I didn't want to talk to them. Oh, and though I felt so like loved, and I tell people all the time there has not been a single day since he's passed since I like that I felt alone. Not one single day. But I had a hard time expressing or talking through those feelings and thoughts with my family, and instead just picking up a pen or typing it into my notes. Because let me tell y'all something, I'm one of those girls who open that notes app and get to type it. So that was just like every time I had a moment, every time I had a thought, every time I felt something, even in prayer, right?
Mhm.
In the book, I have some conversations I have with God. I type about that and I talked about that. So I wrote down any and every thought, and part of that was, I think I had this strong desire to prove that he existed, right? And the hurt helped me prove that. Like, he was real. I didn't dream him. The reason I know that is because I can feel it. I hurt. And so writing about it for me just was like creating this proof that he was here. And so it was chaotic, like the grieving process was. There's some days where I just wrote about the things that made me super, super happy, his habits, the things we did together. And
Mhm.
other days I cursed God. I told God how it wasn't fair. Some days I talked about, I actually felt angry that my dog passed away. How dare you? I wrote
Mhm.
all of that down. All of it. So it, and that's what grief is like, right? The highs and lows, the ups and downs. The some days where you're laughing, the other days where you're spending crying. Each time though, no matter what I felt, I wrote about
And I love that you opened yourself up in that way. So it wasn't this perfectly polished grief thing. Like, I think that so often in our society, we have this, like, oh, a loved one passed. In this case, your support dog dad passed away. That was your everything. And it's like you get a certain amount of days to grieve, and then you need to be over it.
it.
And I love how through your whole process, you're like, I was sad, I was angry, I cursed God out. Like, you had real emotions, and you allowed that to not just be boxed into this, okay, I got a week to get over it, and then I'm over it.
Yeah, I actually wrote about that. People talk about time heals, and one of the things I wrote about was I remember the moment where, so time didn't make it go away.
Mhm.
What time did is there was a limit of time of how long people would listen to it, how long that they would care.
Mhm.
There was not this time like restraint on like when you'd stop hurting. And so the time restraint that I thought was about like, okay, when it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, I'm gonna feel okay. What it was is the clock ran out about when people wanted to listen to it. They got tired of it because I talked about them all the time in every moment. And I realized people are like, okay, girl, it's just a dog. Okay, girl, how long you gonna cry about this? And so the time thing was not on the healing because even now it hurts like the day it happened. And that is something I'm okay with. But that's also why I titled the book the way I did, because okay is in parentheses, because okay is the thing that they put on us, right? You're gonna be okay again. What they're saying is you are going to not talk about it. You are going to be the person that you were before. You are going to conform back to just the way that society is. You're going to recognize that we don't want to hear it. That is okay. Like you're not going to be a burden. And I talk about like, and if okay never comes, right? If this idea of I'm okay again never comes for me, I'm okay with that. I think I'd be just fine.
I love the title of this book, because what if okay never comes? And just like you said about how certain folks gave you a certain period of time where you can talk about it, and then you're not allowed to talk about it. But it's a whole encompassing journey. Like, it's something that's never going to leave you. And I can't wait to really truly dive in and read, so I can be on the other side and say, Remy, that poem right there expressed how I felt when I was feeling this particular thing before. So,
That's a
um,
goal.
now you kind of like alluded to the roller coaster of emotions that you talked about, but I want to ask you this question in relation to your process of writing the book. Did you have any moments in this book writing process where you wanted to quit? And if you did, what kept you going?
Yeah, so when I think quit, I think about the process of publishing and not the process of writing. And there were absolutely moments where I felt I wanted to keep this to me. Like this felt so sacred. And I kept saying like, do I really want to be this vulnerable with people? Do I really want to share all of this? And the thing that kept me going is, again, I wanted to use this as proof that he existed, and that I was like, you will have to suck it up, because if people should see this vulnerability, people should know the impact that he had on your life. People should read this and say, wow, that wasn't just a dog to her. Like, I think I want them to look at a picture of him and think, dang, he do look like her a little bit. I kind of see it. Like,
No, when you showed me that picture before, I was like,
he looked like mom.
that's her baby. That's her baby.
Literally
That
looked just like mom. He just was light skinned. He just looked just
Yes,
like
that's
me.
what it was. That's what it was. And just with a little like a different hair texture, a little bit,
Yeah, he had like 3A curls, but he was still like,
Exactly.
exactly, he was a light skinned black king.
I'm dying. I'm dying.
But the thing that really stopped me from quitting was, I'm like, once I publish this, there is going to be this flag on the moon that says he existed. And this was not my first experience with loss and grief. For those who don't know, I went through the foster care system. I lost my father to gun violence in a shootout that he started. I lost my great grandmother 2 years ago. And so I was super familiar with it. And one of the things I realized is that we are nobody to most people. We are somebody to a handful of people, and we are everything to even less than that. And for me in this project, I just wanted Maxwell to be somebody to a whole lot more people.
Mhm. And he clearly is somebody
Yeah.
to more people. And because of the legacy that he's carried on through you, a lot more folks who may never meet you will know about the impact that he had on your life and on this world
Yes.
because it was through you. Oh, okay. All right. So you were talking about it was really the publishing piece of it that was that, I want to just keep this as a sacred thing to myself. So you clearly got over that hump.
Mhm.
Everything was done. You published. What came next out of that? Once the book was published and you press send to the publisher, like, did it feel anticlimactic? Like, what was next for you? Like, what happened?
Well, you know what? I ended up being the publisher. So let's start there.
Oh, okay. So we got to look at this from a different perspective.
Mhm.
After you told yourself, "I'm done," what happened?
Mhm. I so I like this idea of like, once you finish the book, like when you write the end, and really once you write the end in your book, when you're done, it really is the beginning, because
Mhm.
everything starts after that. Writing the book, I hate to tell y'all, as challenging as it was, I'm starting to realize that was the easy part. Finding a
Interesting.
way to share it with people in a way that is concise, but also still doesn't rush through what it is and who Max was. It became really challenging. You're in constant meetings and talking about, who is this book for? How do I market it? All of those things. Again, I decided I'm a writer in real life. So I was like, hey, if I am going to publish, let me start a publishing company so that I could publish all my works under here. But also, I have 10 siblings who I love dearly. I have two younger brothers specifically who love writing as well. They're also the youngest, and they still think I'm cool. So listen,
I love that. By the way, she's the oldest too.
I'm the second oldest, so I do have an older
I was
brother.
the oldest. Lord have mercy.
No, I'm the oldest by default. So my older brother has an intellectual disability, so he functions intellectually at 7. And so my family just says I'm the oldest because I take care of
Okay, I was like, I really felt like you told me that, and I was like, "Ooh, here I'm dropping wrong information." Thank you. Yes, that context is very important.
So I am the oldest by default.
Mhm.
But I promised my little brothers that I'd also publish them because they think I'm cool. Sometimes y'all they Google me to their friends to show them that I'm somebody.
I love that. I love that so much.
Oh my gosh! Especially because I have grown up siblings and some of them don't think I'm cool anymore. So to have younger brothers who think I'm cool, so I was like, okay, I can also publish them, but also like working in child welfare space, and I meet so many people who are wanting to publish their books and wanting to go through traditional publishing, and I people are being preyed on, right? They're being preyed on. And I'm like, if there's a way that I can also help with that and help them to like help publish others, then I want to do that. So I started my publishing company, and then this is where we are now.
Remy, let me just say something. Every time I talk to you, you always inspire me. You have this innate ability to just problem solve everything around you. You're like, oh, this is I like writing. Oh, I'm gonna create my own publishing company. Like, let me do everything in house. I need. Oh, here's a problem. Okay, here's the solution for that. Like, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you and admire you so much. Just in case you didn't know.
Thank you. I'm logic driven, so hope that helps. I'm quite emotional, but my decision making is logic driven, so I am a thinker. So that is one of those things that people are like, "Oh, how did you think to do?" Well, while I was crying, I also remembered logic drives my decisions.
Which is still in itself, I'm like, you're still grounded and anchored in your own processes, even in the midst of emotion. Not everybody can do that.
It is a skill that I've built over the years. I'll say that I used to be incredibly emotional and made decisions based off of just how I felt in the moment, and then I realized the decisions I make impact 10 other people, and I said, hey, you're a big sister. What you do matters, and how you show up matters. So I became a problem solver. Cry about it. Don't get me cry about it, y'all. Wipe your tears when you're done and figure it out.
And you do that every time. So, Remy, if you ever need to be reminded about your badassness, you know who to call. Okay? You know exactly who to call. Okay. So you self-published through your own publishing company. And since you have all the systems and structures in place through your company, even in the midst of that, was there anything that surprised you about the publishing process? Like, was there anything that you wish you knew before you started this particular journey with this book?
I think the thing that was surprising was once I became a publisher, the way people interacted with me different was different. And so I had so many people reach out to me around like, hey, can you publish me? They didn't say good morning. They didn't say so it's like while I'm trying to share this really cool like this thing I made from pain, these people didn't even buy a book. I said, I can't no, I'm not no, I can't do it.
Mhm.
And so like I did. Because I'm gonna go look at my order list. I said, oh no, I got 7 emails around published a book. And I think that it is going to be it's helpful because it helps me in helping other people understand the importance of investing in yourself before asking people to invest in you,
Mhm.
because it does take like if you're not going to put up the money, that's fine. There are other things that you can do and should be doing. So like when you're looking for an investor, they want to know what you did with your money first before you they actually don't care what you did, what you will do with their money, because we all got the right answers, right? I'll do this, I'm gonna do that. They want to know what you did with yours. And so watching people to say like, hey, I just want you to do this for me, but I haven't done anything for myself or for you, or I haven't even sent an email saying, hey, purchase your book and it was a great read, I hope that you and I can meet, like there's ways that we should interact, guys. And so like being a publisher and like an author at the same time was really, really interesting.
No, and I'm so glad you mentioned about how people reach out to you and be like, can you publish this for me? And
What did that cost?
like, just as a lesson to you all, like, no matter what your business is, no matter what you're doing, you need to show that you have some skin in the game. If you expect just a handout every time, you're going to be grossly disappointed. And people, no matter what walk of life they're coming for, they respect what you do with what you have. Because
Mm-hmm.
you have to start with what you have. You cannot expect someone to just take you out of this, I have no experience, and just do it all for you. That's
There's
not
no
how
such
this
thing.
works.
There's no such thing as free lunch, y'all. And it's really important that you know that immediately when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, being an author, doing anything. Honestly, y'all, nothing is free, and so being intentional about how you engage with people. Because I'm telling y'all, when y'all would start y'all business and people would start saying, "Hey, can you do my hair for free? Hey, can you do this for free?" You gonna be like, "Hold on, this is
Yes. No, and let's take a step further. Like, there's no free lunch, right? However, when we think about costs, it's either time, money, energy, or all of the above. So just keep that in mind as you're on your journey,
Mhm.
and just this journey called life. Like, there's a cost to everything.
Yeah." I also think people are not aware of like what does a publisher actually do for you. I mean, I had some people saying, "Hey, I have an idea for a book. You think I'm a ghostwriter queen?" I'm like, "Wait, hold on. What are you asking for? What is it that you need?" Because I also want you to understand like I will publish people. I want to be clear, y'all. I will. But I want us to be intentional about like what is it that you gain when someone publishes you, right? Like what do they do? Because there's costs associated with things like helping you finish, getting an editor. If you have
Yeah.
a book that needs illustrations, your publisher helps you. Marketing, figuring out how to figure out language, doing a media kit. There's so much and I don't think they recognize what they were asking me for because they don't know what publishing means. Because I could just get you an ISBN, like I could, but it
Mhm.
takes way more than that, y'all.
No lies detected there. None. None. And that actually is a nice segue because you talked a lot about how publishing is more than just getting an IN number. And I want to know what kind of investment did you make into building your own publishing company? And in the terms of this book, like what kind of like
Mhm.
I know you did this in-house, but like what did that investment look like?
Oh, I pay. Oh, yeah. Don't let me be clear. I spent a lot of money on this project. I also had an investor who also invested money into me being able to start up my business, etc. So once we
Congratulations for that, for you for having that investor.
shout out to
Important fact there.
and it's super important because you can get so caught up with certain things. I am unfortunately one of those people who are like, well, I don't always want to use the money as an investment. I'd rather do the time.
Mhm.
But for this project, like just we talked about just the importance of getting this out in a timely manner, and also like what that meant for my healing. But don't rush like your projects if you don't feel like that is what you want to do. But I paid cost in like figuring out the cover. I had so many meetings. I had to meet with like a graphic designer because I'm like, is this do this look good? What am I doing? Writing the book is a whole nother thing. Finding a print company is a whole nother thing. Having a website, and that's just for the book itself. For the publishing company, you don't just start businesses. You need to have processes in place. You should figure out like how do I split my money up? How do I figure out my tax stuff? What bank do I want to use? There's so many things that go into that. So I actually ended up having to do both at the same time, which was a great distraction while I was healing.
I can imagine, like, even in the midst of the grief, it's okay, but I gotta get this done.
hmm Cry about it, girl. Honestly, the hardest part about the like book part was actually rereading what I wanted to make into the book. And because this is my real life, this is my real experience, this is my real grief, I had to take breaks because I was like reading and editing my book while crying.
I believe it.
And I'm like, hold on, let me go get some cold water. I'm going through enough. Let me go take a shower. I'm like, this is so hard. So that was actually the longest process because some of these things that I wrote, I hadn't read since I wrote it. And that was probably months ago, right? So yeah.
That's that's tough. Like I'm just whew, holding. I mean, but you just said you're anchored in logic in the midst of emotional times. So that's what got you through. I can still, that's just stuff like crying and then just editing through it. But I mean, the only way out is through with anything. So
Yes.
that is the only way.
hmm
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you about, who did you envision reading this book as you were writing it? If you have the power to say, to really dictate who buys this book, who reads this book, who would you say needs this book right now and who should pick it up?
And I think this is an interesting question because I actually write about this too. One of the things I learned in my grieving process is none of us are spared adversity, loss, or grief. And unfortunately, it is the
Nobody.
nature,
Nobody.
adversity is part of the nature of life. And so none of us are spared that, which also was healing for me to recognize that with my dog was a conversation that I wrote about with God. I was like, how you couldn't just spare him? He said, well, nobody spared, adversity. That is the nature of life. I don't spare flower storms before they bloom, okay? Nobody is spared.
Dropping jewels
I
like
just, listen, y'all,
all the time, dropping them, dropping them,
this
dropping.
is what I was, this is part of like that healing for me. And I thought, well, he's part of creation. Of course, he's not spared that. But how beautiful a life he lived, right? And I guess if I had to think about who it was for, it would be for, it's for everyone, because we all go through grief, we all go through adversity. But specifically for those of us who have not found the language to kind of move through that, this is the first death I've ever experienced where I've actually had the language. One of the
Mhm.
things I talk about is my father died while I was still a teenager, and I was sad, but I didn't have the language, the mental capacity, the emotional capacity to actually grieve him in a way that I do now. And so I want to say about 3 years ago, actually, I started re-grieving him with the new words and a new language and the new capacity that I had. And so for those of us who have yet to find that those words, this could be helpful, right? To say, oh, maybe I'm not mad at God. Maybe I'm upset, but I'm not angry at God. And changing how we see things and say, this sucks, it hurts, but also, like, right? Like, yes, and. And that
Mhm.
is what this is. It's just yes, and like kind of just moving through that.
So you heard what she said. It's for everybody because none of us is going to make it out of this thing called life without having to deal with some type of grief, some type of adversity, some type of loss.
Hmm.
Nobody's going to make it through.
None of us. And I think that's also kind of part of the beauty of just kind of experiencing life, right? Like, is how do you change your mindset around it? Because now I know that nothing lasts forever. People
Whew,
think that and I mean, it's not just about the good times, but also the bad times. That means that the grief and the hardest days, I made it through my hardest days, y'all. My
talk about it.
my book is proof I survived my hardest days because they don't last forever. But also in that same breath, I lived through my best days with Maxwell, right?
I
And
bet.
those didn't last forever either. It changed me to be in more like grateful. Like I have this thing of gratitude where even when it's some people are like, yeah, when you're in your hardest days, no, that's not going to last forever. But I also want you to take a moment when you are in your best days. I want you to remember to be grateful for it. Some days I'm so happy and I think, wow, what a blessing. And I'm going to live in this right now because I may not have it tomorrow. I'm going to love on them today because I may not have them tomorrow. And it has changed how I interact with everybody. And to be fair, it's something that I didn't know I was doing anyway. If you all don't know, I got Maxwell. He was already 10 years old. So he's already considered an elder dog. He
You
was
kept him alive. You kept him alive. Your
back
love
to
kept
mom.
him alive.
We He kept mom alive too though, so we got our
That
youth back together. We lived a I wish I hope in this book I'm able to share that with you all. We lived a good life. We lived a good life. But I got him and he was actually dying, and had I paid $2,500 to get him surgery. The surgery actually ended up in him only having 3 teeth left. He had an infection that went into his bloodstream. And so I got a dog on his deathbed. And let me tell you why that's important and how I started to raise him afterwards. Because I was completely aware that every day afterwards was a gift. So when we had our bad days, one of the things I would do is remember he's gonna die one day. And so, like, let's say I came home because I stopped telling, we call him Papa. I stopped telling Papa to be good because I used to tell him that I would leave and I say, okay, be good. And I started saying, be the best you can be, because those are not the same thing. His best
that's
yesterday
right.
might be good. His best today might be 10%. He was too stressed out today. So I started saying, be the best you can be. And if I came home to our house that, like, he tore up, he ain't had no teeth, so y'all, he couldn't eat my furniture or nothing. But he did do stuff. Why is all the tissue on the floor? Like, what are you doing? Instead of getting mad, I would close my eyes and I would like imagine like the moment, like right now, if I had a conversation with God and said one more day with him, and God said, I'm gonna okay, I'll give you another day, but it's the day where he put tissue all over the floor, he knocked his food over, his water everywhere. How many of us would say, absolutely, I want that one. I want that one. And how would we live it differently? And so I always used to, I know it's kind of crazy, but I used to do that all the time.
I don't think that's crazy. I
I used
think
to do it all the time. I used to be
I
like,
think especially since you know that every day that he had was a true gift.
yes. I like when he's bad, kind of. I said, you know what? Do what you want to do. I did. I did. Oh Lord, do what you want to do, Mom. I guess I'll clean it up, man.
You ain't give me no choice, so this is what
Like,
we're gonna do. This is what
imagine
we
like if you're mad at, like your kid did something bad and you're like, okay, one day like they're gonna grow up and I'm gonna wish they were a baby again, or I'm gonna wish they were a toddler again. How would you like deal with that moment differently? You would make it count because we would take the worst days over no days with them, right?
right.
That's how I live my life with my dog. I actually do that for myself too, because one day we're gonna be old, y'all. I do. this is a true thing I do, y'all. One day I'm gonna be an old lady. My grandmother, my great grandmother passed at 101. My goal is to outlive her. So I'm
That's
gonna know.
it.
I,
You will.
oh,
You
I am.
will.
At a
You
small,
will. I have no doubt in my mind,
I
Remy.
have to, because like I just feel like, why do my granny think she better than her? Why do you want to outlive us? Like, no, now I have to do it. So I know one day I'm gonna be 105 and I'm gonna be ready to go. And I'm gonna be like, God, I just wish I could move my body the way I used to be able to. And I wish I would have started that business, God. And God will be like, you know what? I can give you one more day, but it's the day that you didn't feel good and you kept putting it off and you didn't want to go to the gym. And if you opened your eyes and you were like, dang, this is another chance to do it right, we would go to the gym. We would start the
That's
business.
right.
We would do the hard part because we know that one day we would wish we had done it differently. I'm
Mhm.
not going to be one of those. I would rather live in this moment being grateful than to regret it later.
Remy, you always drop jewels. Always drop jewels. So I hope those who are listening understand the depth of what you just said. Like, each day is truly a gift. And you looked at that with your experience with Max.
Yes.
My last question for you. We already talked about how this story came to be. We talked about what Max meant to you throughout his life here. We talked about how you self-publish
Mm-hmm.
and your process as a writer, as the writer that you are throughout this, and who this book is for. So now I want to talk to you. I want to ask you about advice, right? So my question is for somebody who wants to publish that book, or let's rewind, wants to write that book, doesn't know where to start, what advice do you have for that person?
I think that I want us to think about what our next step is before we even get there. I don't want us to wait till we cross the bridge. So when we decide to write a book and you're like, this will be one that I am going to share with the world, I started before the book was even finished. I was planning, who will this be for? Who's my target customer? How, like, what do I want it to look like? I think we should be thinking about that way sooner, because now you're sitting on this beautiful masterpiece, but you haven't thought about, who do I want to send it to? How do I get it out there? What does the marketing around this look like? That is the first thing I would say, is stop waiting until you're already done. You should be doing them before, right? When the idea is still an idea, and you're like, okay, I want to write this book. If I write this book, who's it going to be for? What is it going to be about? All of that should be in the planning stage, right? I don't know most people who just write from beginning to end right away anyway. Like, there's breaks and there's thoughts and there's
Yep.
changes, and when you're planning out the, like, what is going to be my characters, who's going to do this, all of that planning about where the book goes should happen around the same time, honestly, because it helps you be really, really intentional. And while you're in a creative mindset, you already got your creative juices flowing.
Yep.
Use that to your advantage. And if you start soon enough, you can already be marketing it before the book's done. Hey, here's a little excerpt. Like, do anybody want to read this? What are your thoughts? You can get feedback in real time. People are going to be looking forward to the book coming out. That is the thing that I talked about it way before it was done. People knew it was coming. I
Mhm.
talked about Maxwell all the time, and people, the things I learned with grief, and people are like, "Oh wow, I love how you shared that." I'm like, "Well, if you want to know more, I got a book coming, right?" That's how you get them.
Always, always be closing. Always be closing.
Hey,
Always be closing. That's what you did.
hey, just so you know. Oh, you like that? Okay, don't worry, I got something coming. So, like, I would say, don't wait until the book is done, right?
So you heard that. Don't wait until the book is done. And I would even, and one of the things that you can also think about this from the perspective of begin with the end in mind.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's that's a critical part of this whole journey. So, Remy, before I ask people, before I ask you to share how they can support you and buy this book today, I want to know if there's any other closing thoughts that you have, anything else that you feel like is really relevant that you want to make sure those who are listening hear.
I just wish we'd have more conversations about grief and loss and what that means. I think sometimes we get caught up in this idea that it means death all the time. Sometimes it means setting boundaries, leaving things that no longer serve you. Sometimes it means, for like me, foster care, right? There was so much grief and loss there, and I never had the words for it. I never had the space for it, right? No one made the space for yeah, your mom's gone. Now what? What are you feeling? I want us to talk about grief differently. And I also don't want us to rush that process, because truth is, grief is not a destination. It is truly the journey. It
Yeah.
is truly the journey. And for some of us, it never comes, right? Okay, never comes. And there is something that is so human about that. There is
Mhm.
something so like like intentional. I tell people all the time that sometimes the I'm actually kind of happy that I'm sad still. It is the proof that he existed. And so again, I just would really highly recommend that we all just take a moment to think about, what have we lost? Who have we lost?
Mhm.
And has it been us walking away, or those things being taken from us? Because we grieve those things very differently. So that's that's all. I hope that this is helpful. I hope that people know that like we care, right? And there is no time frame on what that looks like, y'all.
Yeah. Well, you heard it all from Remy. And Remy, if you want to go ahead to close us out, I'll drop your website in the show notes and everything. But if you want to just let folks know where they can find you.
Yes. So again, I started my publishing company, and it is affectionately called Rambling Writers Publishing. Yes. What? Y'all know that I'm a
Perfect for you. I mean, but you don't ramble that like. Let me
sometimes
tell
I'm
you, Remy,
rambling. Oh,
every conversation we have has depth to it. Now we can sit here and like pontificate for like 30 minutes in an hour, or
yes,
maybe like an hour and a half, like we did the last time.
easily.
But you are just so loquacious, talkative in a sense that allows for you draw folks in. You don't say nothing.
But
There's
I'm a yapper, y'all. I am, and I love that about me. My mom said I said my first word before I turned one, and I have not shut up since. I believe her. Oh, she never lied. She never. I did. You know what, Kate? And I turned something that used to bother my elders. Like my granny's like, "Can you be quiet?" I turned that like a strength. Like I get paid to talk. I'm a public speaker now, right? I turned something that
your
people.
gift made room for you. It makes room for you every day.
Hello, I said I like talking. I actually don't think I'm gonna shut up. But also, y'all don't even know if y'all know this, but all of my siblings and I have the same initials as our father, so RAM. So rambling also is just a nod to the legacy we've built as a family. And that's part of like my publishing company is building these legacies of literature, right? Proof that we existed.
All right. Well, Remy, thank you again for taking the time to sit on the virtual couch with me. I'm so proud of you, and I just really appreciate all the support that you give us. I'm so proud that you're in our Fosterpreneur network. Like, you're doing the thing. You are setting an example each and every day. So, this won't be the last time that you're here. We already know that.
Or not, I'm
It
sure.
will not be the last time. It will not be the last time. I appreciate you. And for those of you listening, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye,
Bye.
y'all.